Hello beautiful people, it's good to be back, and in today's video we are going to be doing a match day poster design tutorial featuring Chelsea Football Club. You can get the resources used for this video in the link. You can check the description to get the link. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also turn on post notifications to stay connected for more videos. Without any further ado, let's get into the action proper. So I'm going with my normal Instagram size. So the first thing we are doing here is adding a background. So for this design, I'm just going to go with a white background, and after that I'm going to be adding our elements. We are simply going to be doing more of arrangements first before we start designing. So first thing I'm doing here is using my magic wand tool to make a selection. I'm trying to remove the background. As you can clearly see, I'm making a selection and clicking delete. After dragging this and placing this here, I'm going to try to reduce the size, and you can do that using Ctrl T. Basically all I'm doing here is just trying to fit in our elements and make sure they are properly arranged. So now next up, since we're working with a Chelsea special, I'm going to be using more of Chelsea players only, and here I have a picture of Willian Esteval. So I'm going to make a selection using my magic wand tool, and I'm going to click on select subject. Usually takes a lot more time, but I skip that so the video will not be too long. So I'm just going to drag this down here and reduce the size because it's looking a bit ambiguous. Don't forget, you can always make a selection using Ctrl T. Just trying to look for the perfect placement. So now that that's settled, I'm going to cancel these because I have no use for them anymore. So next we are picking our second image. So I'm working with this image of Wesley Fofana. So I'm going to make a selection using my magic wand tool, and I'm going to unlock the lock on the layer and click delete. This is a simple image, so I really did not have to use the select subject option. So now I'm dragging this here. I'm going to make sure it's behind our Esteval, and I'm going to reduce the size. Although for this design I want his face to take up more space, so I'm basically just going to fade that, and you can do that by adding a mask next to your layer and clicking on gradients. Make sure the color is set to black, and you can just fade. Let's reduce, or rather increase the size, and adjust our buildings. Make sure it's behind Wesley Fofana. So I'm going to make a selection of both using Ctrl and Shifts. I'm going to cancel this and head back to our files to get our third image, and this time it would be a picture of Enzo Maresca. We're repeating the same process, but this time I'll be using the select subject option because this is more complex background and I'm not ready to take my chances. So now that that selection is made, I'm just going to drag this down here, and it's facing the same position, so I'm going to flip that by right clicking and clicking on flip horizontal. Then you want to reduce the size next. Make sure in your layer arrangement it is behind Willian Esteval. So next I'm going to be picking our fourth image. And that will be a picture of João Pedro. Yeah, picture of Cole Palmer instead. I'm working the bigger ones first, so I'm repeating the same process here again. Select subjects, pick out the picture from the background and just drag down here. Basically, we really haven't started designing. All I'm doing is just trying to arrange my elements before I start adding effects. This is the most important part of designing, the structure of how you start. It helps you to keep a clean layout rather than you having to start rambling, trying to go around and just see if you can make things work. But by doing this first, you already have a clear picture of what you want to do. For some, you can sketch in a piece of paper before you even start designing, just to know how your elements will be. So if that works for you, you can also do that as well. I'm going to cancel this because I have no use for it anymore. So the next picture we are going to be using is a picture of João Pedro and Jamie Gittens. So I'm going to select subject as well. Use my magic wand to the same procedure, make a cutout and drag it down here. But for this, selecting subjects didn't quite get all the body parts. As you can see, the hands are ambiguous, so I'm going to head back down there and make a selection using my pen tool. I'm just going to rush this process because it might take a little bit of time. So basically all I did was replace the body parts that weren't selected and made it a smart object. So for now we are repeating the same procedure for Pedro Neto, making a cutout and dragging it down here. So I'm just going to reduce the size. So now I'm going for my next image, which is Reece James. Repeating the same procedure, select subject, make a cutout and drag down here. But as you can see, we didn't get all the body parts, so I'm going to repeat the same process by using my pen tool to make a cutout of the arm. I'm just going to make a cutout of the body parts that weren't selected, and right after that I'm going to make a copy of it. But first off, you can do that by right clicking, making a selection, and then making a duplicate using Ctrl J. After doing that, you can drag your selection and drop it here. If you can notice, we have some parts that won't be needing, so I'm going to use my lasso tool to make a selection and delete, and I'll be converting it to a smart object. So I'm going to do with Maurice James, and I'm going to be deleting the Estaval picture because I feel like this one fits the concept better. So basically all I'm doing here is just arranging our pictures before we start the main process. I made that selection using the lasso tool. So now we can start adding other elements. Now first I'm going to be adding this scratch effect, and also I'll be reducing the size, make sure it's not covering all of our background. So I'm going to make a cutout on the side. So now next thing I'm doing is increasing the size, and I'll be arranging my layers. I'll make sure this is beneath all of the other pictures that I already have, but that black actually looks too dull, so I'm going to add an image to it just to give it more life. And I'll be going with this picture that has the London Bridge. So I'm going to drag this and place it on top of our scratch effect, create a clipping mask. Make sure the picture is filling every bit of scratch that we have. Now convert both of them to a smart object. I'm going to add a gradient map, or solid color rather. I'll make it blue, create a clipping mask and change the blend mode. So I'm going to be going with color. I'll go with color. And after that we can make a selection and flip it a bit. But if you notice, we are still having scratch on places where we don't need, so I'm going to create a mask and then fade it. Always make sure your color is set to black while you are on your gradient. I'm just going to adjust my players a bit. Now I can delete that. So next on the list we are going to be adding more elements. This is a car. This match is a London derby, so obviously we have to make this poster have a touch of London in it, and most of the popular things are their cab as well as their telephone booths. I'm going to be adding those two elements to our design. So next up I'll be adding the telephone booths. This one already has a shadow, so there will be no need to add a shadow to it while I do that for the rest. So I'm just going to reduce the size and make sure it's behind the players. Right, so now that that has been achieved, let me increase the size of the car and place it properly behind our players. Okay, there you go. We have successfully made a clean arrangement. So the next thing we are doing is fading our image, and we're starting with the Copama image. You can make a fade by creating a clipping mask next to your layer and going to your gradients. Make sure it's basic and it's set to black. So now next on the list, we are going to be retouching our image, and I'm starting with Fofana. So basically all I'm doing is adjusting these sliders that contain clarity, texture, contrast, exposure, highlights. There is no default setting. You can edit each and every one to your taste. After the basics, we also have details where we adjust sharpen, noise reduction, and also the color noise reduction. I already have a video on this, you can do well to check back. So I'm just going to rush through the process for the rest of the players. But as you can see, we already have a sharper image compared to what we had before. So I'm going to rush the process for the other players. So now that that's settled, the next thing we are doing is adding curves. And as always, I'm starting with the Fofana image. So we are adding two types of curves, one light and the other dark. And after creating your curve, the next thing you are doing is inverting it, and you can do that using Ctrl I. I'm going to create a clipping mask of both curves, and I'm going to make a copy because I want to maintain consistency for each and every of our image. So I'll be starting with the light curve. I'm going to increase our brush size. Make sure it's set to white this time because it's an inverted mask. So all I'm doing basically here is painting through the skin, and as I paint, you can also see the darker part of the skin. So for the dark curve, I'm going to focus on the darker part of the skin. By doing this, you make your image a lot more sharp than the original. I already have a video of this, so I'm basically just going to rush the process for the other players as well. So now we are doing is creating highlights, and you can do that by creating a solid color. I already grouped all my images, and I've set the blend mode to linear dot. So now I'm going to blend now I'm going to use the blend if. I'm going to adjust the slider by holding Alt and dragging. Then after that, you are going to invert your mask. and head down to your brush. Make sure the size is a lot more small, and this time we are going to be setting our color to white. So we are going to be adding highlights to the edges of the image. Make sure your color is set to white. So I'm going to be repeating this same process for the rest of our images, and I already copied our solid color. Just maintain consistency when I do this for the other images as well. If you've come this far, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also turn on notification to get updated when a new video drops. So I created a mask next to our Fofana layer because I was trying to clear out all of those rough selections that we have. And while doing that, make sure your color is set to black. So now next I'm going to be adding highlights to the rest of our images. But first off, I'm making a group of our Wesley Fofana. So now I'm going to run the process and add highlights to the rest of our images. So now that that's over, the next thing we're doing is adding shadows. And first off, you're going to create a new layer underneath the player. We're going to head down to our brush and make it slant like that. Just click and drag down. Make sure your color is set to black. Now I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to make a selection using Ctrl T. I'm going to make a duplicate of that holding Alt and dragging, or you can do it simply by using Ctrl or Command J. So now I'm going to draw another shadow. Now repeat the same process by reducing the size and making sure it's underneath the player. I'm just going to make a duplicate of this using Ctrl J or holding Alt and dragging. And next thing I'm going to do is reduce the size. So I'm going to create another layer, and this time I'm going to make sure it's very big so it can cover for both regions and Pedroneto. Next thing I'm doing is making a selection and reducing the size, but this feels too small, so I'm going to undo what I've just done using Ctrl Z. So I'm going to add a motion blur to this. I'm going to leave that at 30. Make sure it's not too much. So now I can reduce the size and make a couple of adjustments. And the next thing I'm doing is reducing the opacity. Make sure it's not too thick. So we are going to repeat the same process for each and every of our image that needs foot shadow. You start off by creating a new layer, then heading down to your brush and then creating one of these. I'm going to make a duplicate using Ctrl J or holding Alt while dragging. I'm going to make a copy of the other shadow using Ctrl J. I'm going to place this underneath João Pedro and Jamie Gittens image. Right after that, I'm going to be reducing the size as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is create a mask and fade our shadows. Make sure it's not looking awkward. So I'm going to be doing the same for our car as well. I'm going to make a copy. Now that wouldn't work, so I'm just going to have to create a new one from scratch. First off, we have to create a new layer under our car. Increase the size of the brush and then you're good to go. I'm going to make a selection of this and rotate it. Make sure it's going to cover for all of the angles. Next thing I'm going to do is adjust this, and then we are going to create a mask. But first off, we're creating a new layer and adding more shadows. I'm going to repeat the same process for the other tire, but I'll just make a copy using Alt and dragging and place this underneath the second tire. So now I'm going to create a mask and fade this shadow. Now we are successfully done with adding shadows. we won't be needing a shadow for our phone booth, but that already came to zone shadow, so there will be no need for that. I'm going to delete this one. So now I'm going to add color lookup just to give our design a new blend. Let's reduce the opacity. I'm going to make a duplicate of this, and I'm going to change now. This blend mode doesn't work, so I'm just going to have to change it. This is looking a lot more sharp, so I'm just going to adjust the blend mode. Yes, saturation works quite well. So you can see our lookup is making our design look a lot more sharp. So the next thing we are doing is adding text, and this is going to include the name of the stadium and the kickoff time. But as you know, West Ham are the home team, so this is going to be happening in the London Stadium. If you've come this far, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also turn on post notifications to stay updated when a new video drops. First off, we are going to be adding our match day, and this is a Montserrat font, part of the Montserrat font family. So next I'm doing is I'm going to make sure this text is behind our Pedro Neto image as well as our Joao Pedro image, but I'll make sure it is on top of our Ray James image. It's all about arrangement, and this is why I always subscribe to grouping your layers, because in times like this it's a lot more easier to navigate through your layers. Because imagine if you had a long list of layers, it'd be hard for you to find the right layers and the right placement. So next, I already have match, so now all that's left is day. But for this I'm going to be going with a signature font. I'm going to make a selection and change the font style. So I'm going with a signature font. Now I'm going to make the color white as well. Make a selection using Ctrl T so it can be visible while I try to drag on a white background. And the next we are doing is increasing the size and flipping it horizontal. So now we're going to our blending options and we are adding shadows. I'm heading over to drop shadows. So as you can see, we are successfully added. So yeah, I'm just going to head down to my blending options and add shadow to add D. So now you can see it's more realistic and makes it look like if the day is on top of our match. So we are going to repeat the same process our match as well. We're going to head down to our blending options. I'm going to go to drop shadow. I'm going to slide to right so you can't see. So now here our match is looking a lot more realistic than it was. But as for this shadow, I feel like it's too bold, I guess. So I'm just going to add a mask to the side, and I'm going to fade it a bit just to reduce the size. I'm going to undo that and fade again. Don't forget to create a mask beside it before you fade. I'm going to do this for the other shadow as well. Make a couple of adjustments. Alright, so the next on the list is adding the stadium name, but before then I'm going to try and fade this shadow as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've come this far. Do well to like, share, tell me what you want to see in the next video, and also turn on post notification to stay updated when a new video drops. So I'm just going to try and see if I can adjust the cities a bit. And while I'm doing that, don't forget that you can also get the link to these resources. Just check the description, there you find the link so you can practice while you follow this video. So now the next one I'm going to be adding is club logos. So I'm going to drag my Chelsea logo down here, and I'm going to move it beneath everything that we already have. This is why it's always advisable to group your layers. It was seamless for me making this move, but imagine if I had 50 layers and I had to scroll till I get there. But it's easier when you group your images. So I advise you to always group your layers. Always group your layers. So I'm going to make a duplicate of this using Command J or Alt and dragging. I'm going to reduce the size and try and place this here. But as you know, it's not just Chelsea, it's Chelsea versus West Ham. So I'm going to find the West Ham logo as well and move it down here. Make a selection as a Ctrl T. This is a smart object, so I'm just going to reduce the size. So I'm just going to make sure this is the same size as the Chelsea logo, but I'd rather have this on the left hand side. I'm going to make a selection of both logos using Shift while I click on both. Now I use Ctrl T to make a selection and reduce the size of both. If you are looking at my layer, you can see that both are selected. So I'm trying to see what we can actually do with this Chelsea logo. Let's see if clipping it will actually make a difference on our background. Alright, so I'm going to try and change the blend mode, but so far I'm really not feeling any of this blend mode. I guess I'm going to have to look for another alternative, so that didn't work out well. Let's give it one more try. Let's see what we can come up with. Nah, I'm not feeling it. Are you? No, I'm not. So I guess I'll just create a mask beside it and try to fade the top. Let's see what that gives us. Always make sure your color is set to black when you are fading, and make sure it's set to basic in your gradient layer properties. So yeah, I think this is a lot more better than we had before. Yeah, this is a lot more better. You just give the scratch effect a little more room at the top. So now all that's left is the stadium name and the kickoff time. As you already know, West Ham are the home team, so it's definitely London Stadium. And this match kicks off at 2 p.m. So the font I'm going to be using for this is Montserrat. You can get that on googlefonts.com or bfonts.com, whichever one you prefer. So now I'm just going to input my text, and please, yet again, don't forget that you can get the resources to this video. Just check the link in the description, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll also like to know in the comments what you would love to see us do next. So if you have a suggestion, please just drop it in the comment section. I promise to go through it. So here I have our London Stadium, which kicks off by 2 p.m. kickoff time. So I'm going to try and reduce the size of that. Yeah, so I'm just going to reduce the size of them. So now I'm going to zoom in and increase the weight of the font. I made a typo error. It should be kickoff with a K, not an L. So you can correct that while you do yours. So I'm going to increase the weight of the font. We always design while we think of our target audience. We want our information to be visible enough for them to see. So all that's left now is the Premier League logo, because we have to specify which match this is, if it's Champions League, if it's FA Cup, or it's Premier League. So yeah, we're just going to perfectly place this Premier League logo. So there you have a match day poster design. We have come to the end of this tutorial video. If you found it helpful, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on post notification, for I'll be dropping a new tutorial video this Friday. So do well to stay tuned for that. And don't forget to get resources in the description link. I love you guys. Peace.